The government back in 2021 launched Ontario Job Site Challenge, where they said to municipalities across the province, here's 44 criteria we're looking for in a job site. This Wilmot location, from what we can ascertain, meets 7 out of 44 criteria. That doesn't sound like a winner to me.
The entire infrastructure piece is going to be incredibly expensive. There will be a financial impact on the taxpayers and the citizens of Waterloo Region. That is why they deserve to have a voice in this.
I was shocked that anything like this could happen. Our farmland is so valuable, and we sit on natural groundwater source that will be affected, as well as the excessive water consumption that comes with building a big industry like that.
Well, we have to pipe water from the lake. Who is going to pay for it? Has any studies been done on that?
None of this speaks to any study, any research, or any level of sustainability, and the costs will be astronomical because of that lack of planning. Who knows what a pipeline could cost to bring water all the way down to Lake Erie? And in fact, it's not just a pipeline from Lake Erie, because we've actually got to send the sewage back down too. I'm not quite sure how a lake already choked with nitrogen and phosphorus and algae is going to handle another massive sewage plant on it. The infrastructure is going to have to be brought here at massive expense. The rail spur alone could cost $250 million. Most major facilities want redundancy. There is no redundant hydro out here. We have a single line. When an assembly line costs $5,000 a minute, for any minute that it's shut down, you keep that running at any cost. They tell us it's because the land is flat. It's got a 6-story gradient. They tell us it's because it's not in a water area. It literally abuts the Waterloo Moraine and our water aquifers. We're very dependent on the Waterloo Moraine for our drinking water. And Walkerton showed what happens to a community or an economy when you have an issue with your water.
The biggest concern for me is my water supply. What am I going to be looking at down the road with potential contamination with things like that?
The farmers themselves don't want to sell their land. I mean, we have multi-generational farms there. We have an award-winning cheese producer. There's plenty of other land available for industrial development in Waterloo Region.
This 770 acres will not be the end. The ancillary businesses that will come along with that will put so much pressure on the rest of the community that every other farm in this community will be directly impacted because we will be put under such pressure, we will not be able to sustain it.
How could this be part of the solution? I mean, there's been 8 months of chaos for the economy, for the farming community. It needs to be the right property. It needs to be in the right location. There needs to be some public consultation, and it shouldn't be on Class 1 farmland.
They talked about having lost several projects because we didn't have shovel-ready land. We know that that's absolutely not true.
We have the Generation Park in Waterloo. We have the East Side lands in Kitchener. We have down in Ayr all kinds of industrial lands, and Cedar Creek area. Then again in Cambridge, all kinds of industrial areas. We literally have thousands of acres of industrial lands already designated, many of it already serviced. For example, the Generation Park in Waterloo, it has sat vacant now for 10 years without a single lot sold. Street lights in, sidewalks in, curbs and roads in, and not a single lot sold. The Wilmot industrial lands literally has sat for 23 years without a single lot sold in that time. We have dozens of potential 50-acre sites or 100, even 200-acre sites elsewhere in the region.
We don't need to be in this argument of either farmland or job opportunities. There are other lands available that maybe need some remediation. They're not looking at those as options, but we're in an environmental crisis, and if we're not prioritizing remediation above taking good land, we're going to be so much more a part of the problem than the solution.
Why 770 acres? That takes an enormous amount of resources. When you start looking at shift changes, for example, and you're seeing that many people come and go, our roads are going to be inundated with people.
We have a single highway, 7 and 8. If you want to get to Detroit or Buffalo from here, you've got to go all the way back on 7 and 8, all the way through Kitchener. Then you've got to get off the highway, get onto King Street, go through part of the urban city, and then try to get back on the 401 to go west. That's not going to work. You've got a plant that has hundreds of trucks a day to it. 80% of the roads in Wilmot Township are tar and chip roads. Township roads aren't suitable for heavy truck traffic. They get blown apart in no time. If you've got several thousand people coming on a shift at the same time several thousand people are leaving a shift, you can't accommodate that on rural roads. All these other traffic lights, 5 of them, will have to be upgraded to full highway intersections. It can cost $100 million to build a full cloverleaf intersection, and we don't even have the land. There's already shops, stores, services, businesses, homes. And you can't have 3,000 people leaving a factory at the same time with 5 traffic lights in a row. No one's ever going to get home and no one's ever going to get there.
They'll have to widen roads, and they'll be taking from farmland in order to do that. They'll be building houses to support the industry, and they'll be taking farmland to do that. They'll be putting in supporting and tertiary industry around it, and they'll be taking farmland to do that as well. All of the surrounding farms, there's no way that they would survive through all of that.
We're going to have to reduce our herd because we will not be able to have enough feed to look after them. We're not going to have enough land to spread their manure on. We will be forced to acquire more land further away, which will be more of a problem driving on the road with farm equipment. What are we going to contend with on the roadway? Are we going to be able to go up the road with a combine and a head on the combine? It's going to be just a total nightmare.
I'm certainly not saying no to an investment that would bring jobs to the region. I'm just saying it should be done in the appropriate location. And on prime farmland that's currently not being serviced, that's clearly not the appropriate location.
I do believe that Doug Ford and company here are just waiting for people to get tired. And what I would say to them is that you haven't met the people of Waterloo Region if you think that we're going to give up.